So this truly is a 3-day business conference as well as a gala and awards program. And there's going to be a lot of learning, there's going to be a lot of insights and a lot to share with you over this period. Sponsor-wise, just so you're aware of who's behind the initiative, as Melanie mentioned, Mount Royal University is powering the program this year. What does that mean? It means not only from a support perspective financially, but we also have a team that works at Mount Royal University specifically through the Growth Catalyst program. And so when you see members of the team like Pablo, Caitlin, Kyle on the front desk, some of our students as well that you've met just coming into the room today, but also in our regional events that we welcomed earlier today in Vancouver and in Edmonton. So Rob Van Der Wees in Vancouver, who actually teaches on our program in the Capital module, and Pete Fenwick, who's up in Edmonton. He's actually the director of the Growth Catalyst program. So they're all part of this, really rallying together to help make this a reality. But we couldn't have done it without our collaborator organizations. And so McLeod Law, Ivy Design Inc., and also Motive Digital, they've been our eyes and ears when it comes to the technology platforms, when it comes to the event and logistics process and design, and when it comes to the social side of things as well. And so these are organizations that have leaned in, given time from their employees, and worked fractionally on the program. Overall, we have about 27 fractional people reporting into me to make this happen this week. So I'm delighted and very thankful for their contribution and investment in the program, because it's truly made it possible. We also have our sponsors, and again, you can't do anything without cash, unfortunately. And so, we're delighted to have MMP, Export Development Canada, and obviously the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund as key supporters. But also National Bank, Zayzoon, VistaView, Miller Thompson, CoPoint, the New Network, and also Viewpoint Investment Partners. You'll get to meet every single one of those over the next couple of days, and you'll get to see the founders, the owners, and leaders from those organizations that are here today to support high-growth ventures and entrepreneurs. So I'm delighted that they're contributing to the program and truly have an alignment with the purpose and vision of it. Our media partner this year is Digital Journal. Digital Journal has been out and about. Dave Potter and Jennifer Friesen are with us today. We do have a media room, so if you're grabbed and pulled into the media room, you're not going to get duffed up or hit. They just want to have a few insights from you about scaling up, growing across Western Canada. What are the challenges, but what are also some of the enablers? What helps organizations achieve that? And so they're going to be writing stories up through the whole of this week and creating content that will go to market through our socials, but also through the Digital Journal, which has around 1.5 million readers across Canada every month. The other side of this isn't just about sponsors, this is about partners. So one of the aspects that we released today is called the ScaleUP Drivers Report. If you go to ScaleUp Week and our LinkedIn profile, you'll see that there's a ScaleUp Drivers Report. Now, this report chronicles all of the content and sessions that you're going to come across over the next 3 days. It provides what I like to call evidence-based primers, the reason behind why we're talking about this stuff. Why does it make a difference, and why is it important for organizational growth? And so we've had a lot of organizations not just lean into the programming and its delivery, but also into writing these snapshots. And I'm delighted that this, I think, is one of the first occasions across Canada where this has been achieved for a business conference, is to have this kind of input and context to the sessions. So I know that tomorrow, as CEOs and business leaders come to the sessions, that they'll be reading through these and looking at how do I prioritize my way through? What's my journey and pathway that I want to take through the program? But it's also a resource that's going to be updated post-program. So we're going to link to it with QR codes to all the content that will be recorded from this room. And so it will be a lasting resource for everybody to take away from the program, so that you can always revisit this content in the future. But these are just some of the organizations, but also some of the contributors that have actually contributed to this whole process. So a thank you to them and appreciation to them leaning into the process. So the program. What are we going to be doing over the next 4 days? I know that I won't necessarily see all of you at every day. I appreciate that you've got other things that actually have to be done over the next 72 hours. So that's totally okay. And I really take my hat off to you being here for what we're calling essentially the launch party this morning. Today is all about ecosystems. So think about that as how do we build the right environment, the support for companies to grow and prosper, to scale from Western Canada. What does that look like? There are lots of non-profit, but also for-profit organizations that are leaning in and helping companies on a daily basis make a difference and push forward from Western Canada. But we also know that there are certain structural barriers. We know that there are not always the supports in the right places for these sorts of organizations. So what needs to be done differently? What do we need to be investing in to take this forward? So each one of you, I know, touches many organizations or has touched many organizations in your past. And those that are CEOs or senior leaders of companies, you are there right at the coalface and you recognize what it takes to really grow and scale a company. I want you to bring that mindset into today. This morning, we're going to be working through globally what's happening with scaling up. So we're going to have Professor Justin Janssen call in from Europe. In Europe, they have the European ScaleUP conference, which kicks off today. They're 8 hours ahead, and so he's going to give an insight to what they've been talking about in Europe for their first day of their conference. So that's going to be very interesting just to see from that perspective, because I can imagine we're going to be doing increasing trade with Europe in the future when it comes to Canada. The next part, we're going to welcome Ross to the stage. Ross is going to provide a context around Canada. From a macroeconomic perspective, what can we expect from Canada in the future? I know it feels when you see the media on a daily basis that things change by the minute. But there's a reality there are some underlying fundamentals around how Canada works as Canada PLC, and what are some of the future-oriented macroeconomic aspects that we need to take advantage of and therefore lead through and manage that uncertainty, but also what are some of the things that we need to be aware of. So Ross from Export Development Canada is going to provide that keynote for us, which I'm super excited about this morning. Then we're going to actually get tactical. So we've got 3 leading business owners that are working with leading high-growth ventures, as well as Charles Plant. Charles is from Ontario, so he's flown in to be specifically with us today. And he's going to moderate the panel that's going to look at specifically the tactics that high-growth ventures are actually using to achieve that scale and growth. And so we have Jory Lamb, CEO of VistaView Solutions, a 5,000 Inc. recognized company. We have Tiffany Petit from Virtuous Circle Counseling, which they appeared number 33rd on the top growing companies list with the Globe and Mail last year. And we also have Ali Khan Muzani, who is the CFO and Chief Operating Officer at Cimend, who's also going to be working with us as well. And as we know, Cimend raised over the last year or two $140 million to invest in their growth and scale. So they're going to bring some really important insights and valuable insights to different types of organizations that are actually achieving growth and scale. It's not just about tech. There's also a lot of service-based organizations in our economy, and we need to recognize what we can do to best support them. After that, we're going to have some lunch. So lunch will be back in the foyer. For those obviously online, you'll have lunch locally prepared and presented to you. And then we'll head into our afternoon session. Our afternoon session is actually where we get to roll up our sleeves. Okay, so I'm expecting those sleeves to be rolled, everybody. And what we'll have is Charles will actually give his keynote. So Charles, for those of you that don't know, he is the founder of what's called the Narwhal Project. The Narwhal Project is a program in Canada that looks specifically at how do you best measure and track the performance of scale-up and growth stage ventures. He has a number of metrics. He calls it scale-up efficiency, and he looks at the reasons why these companies are or are not scaling up. So he looks and breaks down specifically those barriers. So he's going to actually share an analysis that he's conducted on Western Canada to help us understand what's standing in the way of companies from this particular region. After we've had Charles, and so Charles is going to be broadcast out to our other regions, each region across Western Canada is then going to have their own local scale-up faculty member who's going to deliver a regional and local snapshot. So today we're going to have Professor Chad Saunders from the Haskayne School of Business deliver that for us. And he's going to talk specifically about a study that he's just completed for the Alberta government on high-growth firms. So they've actually invested in a recent study over this last 12 months where they've interviewed countless CEOs and senior leaders of high-growth ventures. And he's going to be able to share the insights from that research. We'll then, as I said, roll up our sleeves and we'll say, what does this all mean? How do we make this practical? What do we do with this data? Okay, and so the main aim of that is there are policy recommendations or recommendations for the ecosystem about how we best support or go about supporting high-growth enterprises in the future. And so we'll have some breakout conversations around those aspects about how do we make it practical, tangible, and real for the ecosystem in Calgary and beyond, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We'll finish and wrap up the day. We'll have a recap, but we'll also have Dr. Andrea D. Vanaka provide an introduction to her keynote on day 2. So Andrea is going to kick us off on day 2, which is ScaleUp Masterclass Day. Andrea is a 4-time best-selling author. Her latest book, The Human Growth Code, is all around the intersection of neuroscience with business. How do you become this future-fit leader and lead through uncertainty? She talks about staying in the flow, and I think when we're all quite stressed, we're probably not very flowy, and so she's going to talk to us more about how do you strategically, intentionally manage through that. So ScaleUp Masterclasses, I'm not going to go into too much detail, you can find this on the website, but essentially it's focused on core areas, ScaleUp drivers as we like to call them, that also feature in that ScaleUp drivers report. There's 8 core masterclasses through the day. We have a technology and innovation track. We've got a people and leadership track. We've also got a capital and valuation track, and we've got a go-to-market track. Each of those tracks has 2 masterclasses, and they're supported by our lead sponsor organizations and the founders and leaders of those companies, as well as other practical people they've brought into those workshops. They're going to be absolutely awesome, and you won't want to miss those workshops. So do come back tomorrow and share in the excitement. At lunchtime tomorrow, we actually have a panel fireside chat. Darcy Tour is going to be with us, CEO of Zayzoon, obviously a scale-up and growth stage venture in Calgary. And we've flown in Kathy Thorpe. Kathy is the CEO of Nurse Next Door, a national Canadian organization that has grown significantly. And Kathy has recently also published a book called Bold Kindness. Bold Kindness is all about how do you scale with compassion. And it's ultimately about culture, building the right culture in your organizations to make that, ensure that works in the long term. So Darcy and Kathy are going to have a fireside conversation about culture, about scaling, and I'm really excited for that too. We'll finish tomorrow with a recap, and we'll have an intro from our third day's morning keynote, Leo Bottery. For those of you that don't know Leo, he's going to keynote on Scale-Up Connections, and he focuses on the power of peers and building high-performance teams. So his book, Peer Novation, underpins a lot of the Tech Canada model that you've seen across Canada, but it's all about surrounding yourself with the right people. It's all very well to surround yourself with some people, but are they the right people? And so he's going to talk about how you build those high-performing teams and also build those peer groups around you. So that will be on Wednesday morning. We actually flip downtown for Wednesday, so we're going to be out of the Manulife place at just opposite the Law Court, 707 5th Street Southwest. That's where McLeod Law are, and they're going to be hosting us out of their conference center on the Wednesday. That day is about 2 things. 1, connections. So there's going to be QR codes coming up in the following slides. You can set one-to-one conversations, should you like to, with a number of the advisors that you meet over the next couple of days. So if there's anyone interesting you meet, tap that QR code and say you want to meet with that person on Wednesday. Pop downtown, have a half an hour coffee conversation with them, go for a walk, and make that connection and connect those dots. Okay, so they're all going to be there on Wednesday waiting for you. And we have some specific workshop opportunities as well, which are deeper dive 2-hour workshops around AI and marketing, around valuing your company prior to investment or exit, around if you were to buy an established company and scale it versus actually starting your own company, so mergers and acquisitions. And then if you're a woman leader or founder, we're actually got a particular session focused on raising capital for women founders. So that's all going to be on Wednesday. And then the Gala and Awards. So I know a lot of you will be there. We've got 300 people that are going to be at the TELUS Convention Centre celebrating 24 finalists across 9 different award categories. So yeah, stay tuned. Looking forward to that.